or to the computer. Okay. Couple of problems with that particular tune and with Ali Bey's version. It's kind of hard to find the music for it. And it's hard to find the music for his version. Now, I did years ago for a guy, a South African guy, and I'll have to do some digging to find that. But we did find it, and we were able to get onto it pretty good. It's a very simple tune. What I suggest, sorry?
The one he plays with Phil Cunningham is just B-A-A-B or something.
Yeah, and it's great. I suggest that, you know, the Transatlantic Sessions. Do you know those? Yeah, that's where he plays it. It's so awesome.
Beautiful.
It's just great. It's on YouTube. Transatlantic Sessions, Ali Bain, Waiting for the Federals. Because it's actually an American tune, right? But he plays it in this very Scottish way. It's so cool. It's really, really cool. That's a good idea. But no, we haven't learned it.
Okay.
Yes, Rick.
Dan, I got a question. I get a little confused about. I got a tune that's it looks like G because it's only got one sharp, but it ends in a D. I'm sorry, it ends in B. Like, is that like a D modal or something? Or
yeah. So which tune is it? First of all,
Banishment's Fortune, for example.
Benjamin's Fortune. Okay.
Or Banishment's Fortune. Misfortune.
Oh, Banish Misfortune. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's a really good question.
Foreskin.
Yeah. So that tune is in G. No, it's in D. It kind of goes between two keys. Look, let me show you. The problem is with our music, when you look for the key, this is a very good question, Rick. And you too, Susan. When you look for the key of a tune, the key signature really only gives you a part of the story, because in our music, it's never, sometimes it's truly in the key with all the sharps and flats that are appropriate for the key, but a lot of the times it's not. Banished Misfortune is a really good example. So it is it's got one sharp in the key signature?
Yep. It's F sharp. F sharp.
So that's kind of D minor, but it's not really, because we don't have B flat. D minor has B flat. Now
we can't hear you play.
Really? Oh, wait, I know. Okay. So that's a D, okay? And it would be a minor. It's not a true D minor because we don't have B flat, but I don't even know if we're playing a B. No. So there are no B's. But that would be D minor. Definitely, I would tell somebody.
Yeah, because, you know, the other trick I always thought was that the last note you play in the tune is typically the key it's in. But it ends
typically, I would say 50% of the time, because there's many tunes that leave you hanging. That do not end on the tonic. It ends on, it's meant to go back into itself or into another tune. Like, for instance, Knopman's Rambles. See, that ends on a B minor there, on a B. But the tune is in D. It's in D, D major, and the second part's in B minor, sort of, but it leaves you hanging. So whenever you play Knopman's Rambles at the end of the set, you always have to go back and play beat one again. That's what everybody does to finish that tune. So many tunes leave you hanging. And in this tune, Banished Misfortune, that you're talking about there, you have an F sharp. So it's D minor with an F sharp. Here's the scale. See that? So it's just slightly different. Now, we don't have any B's in this tune, so it's more like this. scale that we're working with. You see that?
Is that a
So
modal? Is that a modal
it's
scale?
modal, and I can't remember which mode it is. Now, I could drone on about modes if you want.
I'm sorry I asked.
It's okay. I like to simplify modes. You take a look at the piano, a C major scale on the piano, no black keys, okay?
Right, right.
Start that scale, start that same scale with no black keys on a D instead of a C, and you
Right.
get a different scale.
I understand. Yeah.
Start it on an E instead of a C, and you get an even different scale. Those are the modes. And I
Right.
know them, and I can explain it, but that's basically how it works. So, and a lot of our music is modal because they came up with all that major minor business in the 12th century in the Council of Trent. And that was mostly the church leaders because the only place you would find music or harmonized music in those days, back in the 12th and 13th century, was at church. And so they came up with all the rules. So that's where they split up the octave. That's where they came up with the major and the minor and the two different minors. And that's when they outlawed the minor third because it was too evocative of emotion. And that was the church's job. And minor scales weren't allowed. And that's why I often tell people that's why they have a harder time learning a minor tune, because we're not used to the scales near as much as the major. The other thing is when you have a minor scale, there are automatically three options: harmonic, melodic, and natural minor. So as soon as your ear hears that minor third, it wonders what it's supposed to do. Whereas a major scale is just like, it makes sense. It's like somebody saying, would you like a coffee? And somebody else saying yes. It just makes sense. You know what I mean? So that's why we're not used to it. In our music, most of it was written, a lot of it was written before that whole thing, before all those rules, or just in complete disregard of all that stuff because they were farmers. They didn't know anything about splitting up the octave. They were just kind of making the sounds the way they like. So we have so many tunes that are not truly in the key. So my dad had a trick. You look at the key signature first. Then you look at the first note. Then you look at the last note, and you look for the prevailing note. If it is the tonic, so in the key of D, the tonic is D. So if your prevailing note is D, then you got a good idea you're in the key of D. If you look and see 1 sharp, it should be 2, but it's all Ds, then you're getting the idea. If you're looking and it's all E's, then you're thinking, well, that could be E minor. Because
Yeah.
E minor has 1 sharp. So if you're looking and seeing all E's but 1 sharp, you're thinking, okay, maybe E minor. And if it's not E, then it's an arpeggio note in that key.
Yeah,
So if
but
we're
you
talking
don't
about the
always-
key of D, if the first note is F, like in Banished Misfortune,
Yeah,
see that? That kind of gives you the story right there. So that was my dad's old trick for getting what key you're in. And I think it's really the most effective and simple way to do it.
it doesn't. The reason I asked the question is because I've got a buddy of mine who comes over once a week and he's trying to learn the guitar. So he's trying to find the chords,
Yeah, I
and
know.
sometimes he doesn't know what key I'm in, which makes it difficult. So
Oh, no, you're right. And it's a really good thing to learn, especially for when you're playing with people, especially what I call white people, because white people just don't catch on to the changes like quickly. My wife's father is my prime example, Bill. He's quite an accomplished musician. He's 86 now. He's not playing anymore. He's a guitar player. He's a singer. He's a mandolin player. Very good at all three, but he cannot play along with our music. He can't make sense of it. When he first started to try, I thought he was going to throw the guitar out the window. And we're sitting there, and he's trying to figure out this tune. I can't remember what tune it was. It was simple, like maybe Behind the Bar or something. And I just had gotten this little kitten, and he's a very high-strung guy. And he's just getting so frustrated trying to figure out what the next chord is. And he's just about to give up. And doesn't the little kitten fly off of the bookshelf and onto his shoulder with her little claws like that? Oh, like I really thought he was going to stomp on his guitar, Very frustrating. The other problem is when you're playing with a guitar player or an accompanist that normally plays, say, country music or bluegrass music or, they get used to chord progressions. So 1, 4, 5. That's the biggest kind of chord progression for songs. But our tunes, they don't follow chord progressions. they follow the melody. The chords follow the melody. The melody comes first. Whereas with songs, you could have hundreds of songs that have the same chord changes.
Yeah.
And you build your melody on top of that, whereas we're the other way around. So, for instance, most of the really good accompanists that I know, like my friend Brian, they play a melody instrument. They know all these tunes. They could play the melody of them. And that's why they're so good at it. Whereas most people, when they're coming at it from outside, find it very difficult to predict the next chord. It's really... It's kind of impossible. So, but that's how you boil it down. Key signature, first note, last note, most prevailing note. And of course, after a while, you get to see the arpeggios in the music if you're looking at the music. So if you see all these arpeggiations, you know, and it's all D major arpeggiations, then you're getting a good idea of what key you're in. See what I mean? Yeah. And then there's the major minor thing. Now that can be tougher because each key has its major key signature and its related minor key signature. So G major has one sharp, E minor has one sharp.
Sure. Yeah.
See that they share a key signature. So if you see a sharp in the key signature, the first thing you should really do is figure out whether it's going to be the major or the minor, right? And like I said, I just look at the notes. Like if I see E's and B's everywhere, then we're in E minor. You know what I mean? If I see G's, lots of G's and lots of D's, then I know that we're in the key of G. Okay? So that's how I do it, and it's not an exact science. These books here, Jerry Holland's books, Mario, Jerry, and my brother Paul painstakingly went through each tune to figure out the chords. Jerry's choices, beginning with, and then after that, fleshing them out, because there's no pattern. You got to go through each tune. See what I mean?
Yep.
So, there you go. But if you're playing with your buddy, these books are awesome because the chords are all well laid out there. And there's a whole bunch of them. This is Jerry Holland's collections. I was working with my beginner class with this book, Cape Breton Scottish Collection. Excellent collection of music. And look at the bows on those guys. You see those bows? They're very tight bows. They're up against a lot. And especially these guys.
Wow.
See that bow? You can shoot arrows with that thing. And what I figure is that they just didn't have access to rehairs. So, and when you can't get a rehair, all you do is just keep tightening up your bow over and over and over until one day you can't do it anymore and you got to go find a new. And back in those days, it would be hard to find a new bow. Like, it would be really pretty tricky. But anyway, so there you go. So that's that whole thing. Should we play Banished Misfortune?
Sure.
Yeah,
Or another G tune is Neil Gow's Lament for His Second Wife. That's a G.
That's a D tune.
D. I've got it in G here.
Yeah, but there are C sharps. All the C's are sharp.
Really? I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I'll play it for you. C sharp. See, that's very D. I always say this tune is the key of D. And it's nice because it's one that uses the whole fiddle in that key, you know? Sometimes they're rare.
Okay.
And it's interesting that the T signature would only have one sharp because there's lots of C sharps in that tune.
Yeah. Although it doesn't show. This is in G, and it doesn't show the G's as sharp, or the C's as sharp. Might be a different version. That's all.
You might have it in G. You can play it in G very easily. Or, how do you do it?
Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah, it's really nice in that key.
Yeah, it's just using the, yeah, it's just the G, yeah, exactly. I think that's it's, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, Banished Misfortune's fine, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Banished Misfortune. Now, how fast can we do it? go about that speed?
I'm gonna put mute on here, just one sec.
Yeah. Is that a tune you play, Sandy?
No, I haven't played that before, Dan, but it sounds beautiful and I'm just gonna listen and learn.
I will send it to you because I have a good version.
Oh, thank you.
That's one thing I do is try to curate the session.org versions because you know you got to watch session.org. Anybody can put anything up there.
I also don't know this one, so if I could get a copy of that, that would be great.
No problem. I'll look it up right now. Banish Misfortune. It's an old one, eh? It's one of those ones that nobody knows who wrote it or when.
Cool.
And it's a three-parter, and it's one of the most popular tunes there is going. Now, let me just make sure this is a good version. Good. Good. Yep, perfect. Very good. The first one. Unusual. Usually you have to dig. Okay, so that's going to be Sandy. And Paul. Which Paul are you, Paul? Oh, I got you.
Oh, you got, okay.
Yeah. Okay, and attach it. There we go. Okay, so for you guys, we'll play it very slow, and I just want you to keep your eye on it while we're playing it. This is a very popular tune. It's played all over the world. I heard it played once in Belgium at a session. So it's a very, very good one to have under your belt. It's not hard, and it's a wicked tune. So we're going to give it a go. Okay. Let me see how fast we should go. Is that going to work? Let's do it. I'll count you in. 1, 2, 3. How did we do, people? How'd you do, Paul? I actually don't know anything about you, Paul.
What do you want to know?
How long have you been playing the fiddle?
So I played growing up until around 18. Maybe I played like about 7 years or something, and I stopped playing until this year. And I'm in my 40s. So I think I deserve, maybe I broke the record in terms of the longest time someone stopped. Probably not actually, but I haven't played fiddle for like 23 years.
Whoa, it's longer than me. I quit
Yeah.
for 8 years.
Yeah. Okay.
8 or 10. I don't really know, but I was about the same age as you. When I finished high school, I went to a 2-year jazz diploma program for drums up at St. FX in Antigonish. And I remember my dad driving me up there, and because he was a fiddle player too. That's him there. And we're driving up there, and he's looking at me, and he goes, "So, what instruments did you bring?" And I said, "Well, I brought my drums, and I brought my mandolin, and a harmonica." He did not give me a hard time at all. He never gave me a hard time about stopping. But then when I started playing again, I was about 25, I guess, and because I lived in the States and I had nothing to do. I was there on a student visa. I wasn't allowed to work. I wasn't allowed to do anything. And I had been playing a bit with my friend who was in my band, who played the flute. And so I started to get back into it. And then the next thing you know, I'm going home, and me and Dad are playing together. And then the next thing you know, we're going over to Ireland together and England and doing all kinds of stuff. So so that was kind of a cool thing to have happen, you know. Now I inherited his fiddle, so I keep playing that. It has a pickup built into the bridge he got in the 90s, and I use it for very loud gigs, which I had one this past weekend, like at a loud bar. So I plug it right in, crank her up, and it's good because it keeps it playing. So you got to play him. So you played like classical type of thing?
That's right. Yes, classical.
Because I
music.
saw you were reading quite handily there.
Reading? Oh, I wasn't actually looking at the notes this time.
Oh.
Like, I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to learn like.
Use the music.
What I never learned is how to connect like this with this. I guess you know what I mean. Like,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, I'm like very horrible at that, and I would just wish I was. I would gladly trade in my ability to read sheet music for the ability to hear a tune and just like play it without thinking about it, like on the fiddle. Like that would be.
Well, I gotta tell you, nobody can do that. Like it takes me a good few turns to get a tune. You know what I mean? Like, and that's at the top level. Like it usually takes, when you're learning a tune by ear, it can take about a half hour to really get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
To really get it, to actually learn it by ear. Now, when I had to learn all this Irish music here in Toronto, like we don't play a lot of Irish music in Cape Breton. It's a little bit, you know. My family did because my dad was a Coleman, Michael Coleman follower. A little bit different. We were from the north side, lots of Irish. There was a guy, Johnny Wilmot, that played Irish, and that we knew him and stuff like that. But that's a little bit unique. But so when I came here, I had to learn Irish or die, right? And so I went to a session almost every night of the week, and I learned like thousands of tunes, but kind of all at once, because I had a system where I would go in and I would just get the phrases as they went by. I call it shooting the Germans that you can shoot.
Yeah.
And then just wait. So I get usually the first phrase. It's the most important phrase in a tune. Sometimes it's the ending that's the most important phrase. And when I talk about that, I'm referring to the most repeated phrase
Mm-hmm.
in a
Right.
tune.
The signature phrase.
That's right. Sometimes it's the ending. Because if the ending is the same for the A part and the B part, then you end up playing that damn thing 4 times by the time the tune is done, right?
I have a friend, Randall Bays, the guy I know. His wife is a good fiddler, but she cannot start a tune.
Very common problem. Very common. And it's just because of this concept. Now, the way that I teach by ear is I teach by phrase. Most tunes, I hope everybody's enjoying this talking. It's really good for Paul because he really wants to do this. It's good for everybody, of course. But tunes are very if you learn a lot of them, they get to be a bit predictable. So and you know it depends on how hard they are. So if you're talking about the basic session tunes, it's usually first phrase, second phrase, first phrase again, and an ending. Okay, and 90% of the tunes are like that. And then the B part, you got first phrase, sometimes the second phrase from the A part, and then that first phrase again, and then sometimes the same ending or a different ending. Let me give you an example.
Dr. O'Neill is a good example of that.
It's a great example. Now, it's a bit of a long-winded example.
Yeah, but it's there.
Like how many parts? I love the tune. We'll have to do it. I don't know. Have we done that?
I
We're gonna have to do it. It's a must-have. But
I
let me
know.
start simpler.
But
Cash
it repeats the first part, second part, and then it repeats it. That's all.
That's right. You're right. And a couple of the parts have the same ending.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about Cash J. So here, I'm going to play the whole Cash J. Hopefully you play the Cash, the poor old Cash. Okay, Cash J. So this is a classic example. In the first part, we got first phrase. Second phrase. First phrase again, exactly. Ending, which is the second phrase slightly different. See that? It just resolves instead of leaving you hanging. And then in the second part, first phrase. Second phrase is similar but slightly different. See that? It starts the same but then takes a different zag. And then the first one again, slightly different. That's the case for a lot of tunes. Same phrase, slightly different 3 times. See that? In the B part. And then the ending. And that's it. That's the tune. So basically, if you learn that first phrase, and if you learn the first phrase of the B part really well, you got half the tune there. And then by the time you get the ending, then you just have a few gaps to fill. And then the next time you go to the session, you fill those gaps. Now you see, that's an old style of learning. That's the way people used to do it in the old days. It was always people based, so you're getting together with people and learning tunes off of them. And then you leave for a week or whatever, go back to your menial serfdom, and then you go back to, after church upstairs and get together with your buddy again, and you get another crack at the tune. Now, the interesting thing I find is that I often reinvent the tunes in the meantime. And one time when I was living in Newfoundland and learning the fiddle again after all those years, I learned this tune with my friend Craig, who was quite a good Irish flute player. And I went away from him, and then I came back, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to play that Charlie Lennon tune. I've had it in my head all week. And I played it, and he goes, well, if you're going to play it like that, I don't know, it could be anything. I totally reinvented it, right? But then, when he sat there and played it, it was like, oh, of course. You have this thing like it couldn't be any other way. So that's why I always say you're not learning a tune, you're not memorizing a tune, you're understanding it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's there forever. You never forget. It makes sense. It's like a conversation that makes sense in your head. And so it makes it a lot easier to take on a lot of tunes if you do it that way. See what I mean? And we'll learn a tune tonight just exactly that way so that you can get some experience with it. Okay? Band's Misfortune, it's got a few parts, so it's a little bit more challenging. You know what I mean? Actually, we could still do it. Do you guys mind if we go over the phrases of Banished Misfortune?
Sure.
Let's do it. That's great. So let me just bring it up on my screen. Now, I have a lot of students that basically find it impossible to not have the music there in front of them. even though they're really trying to learn the tunes by ear and stuff like that. And I used to fight them on it, but during the pandemic, I noticed that it doesn't really get in the way. As long as we're learning the tunes phrase by phrase, it really doesn't matter if you have the music there. It doesn't really hurt that much. You know what I mean? And like I have a orchestra of 45 fiddle players, and they learn it this way. We learn it phrase by phrase, but they have the music in front of them, and it's worked. I've been with them for 3 years now. They have all these tunes. They can play them. They can start them. So it's okay to have it there. Just make sure you're learning the phrases on their own. Okay. Now I'm going to play this Spanish Misfortune one more time, and you guys can play along while you guys are looking at it. And I want you to see if you can identify, first of all, the phrases, and second of all, arpeggiations. Okay? Because tunes are made of scales and arpeggios. And if you can kind of spot them, it makes your job easier. So, look for scales and arpeggios and try to hear the phrases. Okay, here we go. Ready, and... That's the first part there, okay? And you can hear the phrases. It's not that hard to figure out. So we got first phrase, which is a scale. It's a scale that skips B with a C natural. See that? So you just skip B. That's all you can do. And then we got this little jog. See that? And that's the first phrase. So let's see if we can try that. The first 2 bars. Scale down, skip B, little jog. There you go. Ready, go. Okay, let's do it again. We'll do it a couple more times. Ready, go. Yep, that's good. One more time to be sure. Ready, go. Are we getting that phrase? You got that opening sentence? That's good. Let's do it one more time. Now, for the people that already know it, that when I play that long A, I play an F sharp with it. Or a D. It's really nice, really effective. And then I do a grace note on that C. Okay, and it's very common to do. So that's kind of how that goes. So let's give that a try. First phrase, 2 bars. Ready, go. That looked good. It worked. Now, the second phrase. Basically, it's a whole bunch of F. You see how many Fs are in that phrase? There's a lot. So it's kind of arpeggiates. And that little bit at the end there, that's just to scale up. That kind of jog. See, that's all that is. So let's try it. I'm going to play the whole phrase, the long F. Let's do that together, okay? Ready, go. Let's do it again. Ready, go. Okay, one more time to be sure. Ready, go. Now, for the people that already know it, in the last bar of the first line, what ornaments would you do there? None. Always an option. Always an option. How about you, Rick? What do you think? What would you do there? You're muty. You got to unmute.
And I think where we are. Da, 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 da. There?
Keep going.
Da 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 da.
Those last two, that last F, E, F, G, F, G. What would you do there?
Well, you could do a roll.
Yeah. Anytime you see, a figure like that, F, E, F, or G, F, G, that's almost a roll.
Mhm.
All of it needs is the grace note, right? So that's screaming out for a roll, and I do that every time. See, that's so nice, and it's set up for it. So, and it's a good way to do it because you're not really changing the melody. You're just adding a grace note and then playing the rest of the triplet. That's it. Okay? And that's a nice slow roll. So you could try that. Be really good to do. Now let's take a look at this next phrase. Okay, now that's a bit weird, eh? It's kind of like it's a filler and it's using the A. If you count them, in those 2 bars, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A's. See that? So it's kind of like an extended roll. Very rhythmic. See what I mean? So let's try that and let's make sure you get all them A's in there. People usually skip one. So this is the second 2 bars of the second line. Ready, go. Let's do it again. Ready, go. One more time. Ready, go. Okay, now, if you look at the last phrase of the part, what does it look exactly like? Almost. Anyone?
Like the starting phrase. of the
It's
song.
exactly the same as the starting phrase, except it just ends a little different. It resolves, right? So, yeah. Which is nice. It's kind of like the sun coming out, So let's try that. The last 2 bars. Ready, 2, 3, go. Okay, let's do that again. Ready, go. Okay, that's it. Now, by rights, we should be able to play this whole part. We have all the phrases. We just got to link them up. So let's do it. Let's go right from one end to the other. And the people that already know it, you got a few things you're going to try to get in there. Okay, so let's see if we can do it. I love that response, though. What ornaments would you do in that bar? None? It's awesome. Okay, remember that. Okay, here we go. Ready, go. Again. Okay, is that working? Yeah?
The C natural is throwing me off. I want to play C sharp.
Quit
Especially with
playing C sharp.
Well,
In a situation like that, you're training your ear, right? Because maybe you're not used to the modal. So you're training your ear. So you actually have to do that. You have to give your ear a false cue. Just like my buddy Brian in my band, I give him a false time for every gig we do, a half hour earlier than the gig actually is. And that guarantees that he shows up. So you have to give yourself a fake cue with that C. You got to just play it natural. And then eventually it will get in your head and it'll make sense.
but it's
Actually, it
funny.
sounds nice if
On
you
the one hand,
play a B
Sorry,
and
go
slide into it.
It's 4 sliding into.
Yeah, it sounds nice if you slide in from the B.
Yeah, and that's what I do. See that? Yeah, it's like a blues thing, eh? It's a blue note. Now, what were you going to say before that?
well, I was gonna say like it's just kind of it's almost like in D. Like it is in G, but it's almost like because there's a lot of D, that phrase ends on a D, and the resolving phrase is a C sharp in the resolving phrase. So
Now the
right?
C
It's almost like
sharp,
one in D, or it's like a half in D, half in G.
you're absolutely right. And that, if you were the guitar player, that's what you'd be going back and forth. Now, you mentioned that C sharp at the end. You know about a leading tone, right? You've heard of a leading tone? A leading tone is the half step before the tonic.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
And Irish music has so much of that. So the tune could have C's natural in the key signature, but when you got the D, C, D, they do the leading tone. It's cool, right? It sounds cool. As opposed to, like, that would work, but it's not as cool. So back in whatever, in 800 AD, some guy was like, what if we do it like this? Yeah! And then the girl that was with them ripped her shirt off, and they were like, right on! That's a good ending. The birth of a tune. Anyway, so does that make sense? Now, how are you doing, Sandy? Are you getting the phrases?
Yeah, I am, Dan. It really helps to have the music since it's a tune I've never heard before.
Absolutely. And if we do it phrase by phrase, you'll still
Yep.
learn it by ear, even though you're looking at the music.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can't. I don't like when people discount. I don't learn tunes with music. I learn them by ear. But I have music because we use it for reference, and we always have. So I have some books here that are 300 years old. So it's not like people only ever learn stuff by ear. Like, we wrote them down for a reason, but it's for reference. See what I mean?
Yep.
Because you learn it by ear, and then when you look, it's like, oh. See what I? So now let's take the grinder to it. Let's do it like 4 times. The A part, okay?
And that's a 6/8 times. So it's a jig, is it?
Absolutely yes.
It doesn't have that da 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 da. I guess it's hard to.
When you're going slow, but when you're going quick,
Okay.
oh yeah, you can jigger up real good. You can't play it at a dance though, because it's a 3-parter. You can't play 3-parters at a dance because it screws everybody up. You have to play 2-parters. Everything's straight and normal, especially for Ontario people. Anyway, let's give it a go. New hair is great. I got to rehair it. It's just perfect. I think you got it perfect. Okay, ready, go. Again. Last time. All right. That looked good. Everybody looked just wonderful doing that. Now, second part, very ornamental. This is a piping tune. People played on the uilleann pipes, the Irish bagpipes. And so it kind of takes advantage of that instrument. So if they were playing this second part, it would be Roll City. So it's kind of mainly based around that idea. So in the first bar, we got this kind of, and it's a C sharp, it's a leading tone. And that's screaming out for a roll. Or either one there would do. And then you go back up to the F and scale up and down. That's it. Okay? And you see how I bow that there, guys that already know it? That's a really effective thing to do. slurring into the A from the G. Very Irish, very pipey. So let's try those 2 bars. I'm going to play them for you first. So listen and watch. Let's do it together. Ready, 2, 3, go. Do it again. Ready, go. One more time to be sure. Ready, go. Okay, now we do exactly the same idea down a note. See, that's all that is. Let's do that together. And you can do the same ornaments. Ready, go. Same slurring and all that stuff. Do it again. Ready, go. Okay, is that working? One more to be sure. Ready, go. Okay, now let's take those 2 phrases because they're so similar and let's put them now side by side. So F to the D, and up the scale and down, E to the C, up the scale and down. Let's do that together and see if that gets in your head. Ready, go. Does that make sense? Let's do it again. Ready, go. Okay, yeah, it's good. It makes sense. Now we got a scale. See that? It's really easy. Okay, so it's just scaling up and down, starting on the F and then the E. Ready, go. Do it again. Ready, go. Okay, now take a look at the ending. Does it look familiar? Same ending. All the parts in Vanished Misfortunes have the same ending. So when you learn the ending, you got 2/3 of the tune. Okay? So by rights, we should be able to start at the top of the B part and go right through to the end. And nobody will have a problem and everyone will feel good about themselves. So let's give it a try. Ready, go. See that? Now I can see that the ending has become a German that you guys can shoot every time. Which is great. And in the third part, you'll have that to look forward to. And it makes a big difference, eh? The phrase is coming that you can already play. Thank God, thank God. So let's do it again. Let's take the grinder to it and do the second part about 4 times. Ready, go. Again. One more time. Does that work? Good, good. Now, and again, like this is such a pipe tune. It's such a variation tune, right? When you look at the first part, dee-da-lee, da-da-lee, da-dee-da, then the second part, da-da-da-da-da-da, it's like a variation, right? And then the third part is another variation. Now, this is a fun one. It's a tumble down the stairs. Starts on F. right all the way down to G, or sorry, to the D, right? See that? And it's just going down, 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 down. So let's give it a try. So we got, and by the way, when you have those long notes followed by short notes in a jig, really good to slur them because you can speed up your bow. See that? Really bring some life into it. So let's try that line. We'll do the whole line because it's just a big scale down. Ready, go. Right to the bottom. Let's do it again. Ready, go. One more time to be sure. Ready, go. Now, we got a part here that's probably one of the more challenging parts. Now, it's not unlike, do you see where it's similar? In the first part, you're going to see a similar bar there. Remember that rhythmic bar I was talking about with all the A's? That's just for rhythm. That's what it's doing here. So it's very similar to that, but it has a long C, and then a short C, and then you got those A's, and then the ending that we know so well. So let's give that whole line a try. The long C and then a short C. Ready? Go. Let's do it again. Same thing. Long C. Ready? Go. Let's do one more. And of course, that long C screams for a roll. Please roll me. Do it again. Ready? Go. Okay, now let's do that the whole B, or not B part, the whole third part. Tumbling down the stairs. Ready? Go. Again. Again. One more time. Now, is that making sense to everybody? Great. Okay, we'll take a little breather. Roll your shoulders out. Oh my God. A friend of mine just had carpal tunnel surgery. He's a guitar player. And he had it on his right hand years ago. And he just got it done on his left hand. And he said with the right hand, he said, I recommend it. He was like, if you have a month off of playing and you can recover, then you should definitely do it. Because I have problems with my left hand. I don't think it's carpal tunnel because I don't have those same symptoms. And the doctor told me what it is that my shoulder blade, I used to play without a shoulder rest for all when I was growing up, and I didn't start using one until I was an adult. And I would hold my left shoulder up in the air while I was playing to hold the fiddle up. I didn't realize I was doing that, and my left arm was going numb. Either these three fingers or those three fingers were going numb while I was playing, and they would still work, but I couldn't feel a thing. It was the weirdest thing. Now the problem was that it impacted my intonation, because I couldn't feel how hard I was pressing on the string with that familiar. Because for me, with intonation, I have a very familiar pressure. Do you know what I mean by that? Have you guys ever encountered that? The harder you press on a note, the sharper it goes. You can sharpen yourself up to a half a semitone with finger pressure, okay? So now most of my notes that I play, I have about 60 or 65 to 70% pressure. I don't like to press too hard all the time because it slows you down. But if you need to go up, you just press a little bit and up you go right away. So if you're a little flat on the last note of a tune, just press a little harder and up you go right away. See what I mean? Now, why did I talk about this? Oh, the left arm. So that meant that I couldn't have my regular feeling of when I'm in tune without having to hear it. See what I mean? Because like half of intonation is your ear training, the other half is your hand. This is what a D sounds like. This is what a D feels like when it's in tune. It's a big major part of it. I have all these little cues. So how much of the butt cheeks on either side of the string my fingers touching the fingerboard, for instance, on certain notes. If I go up in third position, I don't want to have a lot of my finger touching the fingerboard. It's too much pressure. It has to be somewhere in the middle. See what I mean? So these are things that I got used to without having to hear it. Because if you need to wait to hear it, you're already out of tune. And we play eighth notes. We have no time to tune notes. They're gone before you even hear them. So you got to do a lot of it by feel. So anyway, I went to a physio and she had me play. And she came up behind me and she touched me in a part of my back and I felt like somebody just hit me with a taser. And she told me that I was holding my shoulder blade up like this and it was causing trucker's elbow, where your shoulder blade impacts your ulnar and bias nerves going down your arm. And so I started using the shoulder rest, and I also do this, I do this, I exercise it most days, I do a bit of yoga. Stuff like that all keeps it at bay. See what I mean? But the shoulder rest really seemed to do the job. So, but I have to roll it out once in a while if I'm playing for a little while. And I remember saying to my doctor, after about 2 hours, my left arm starts to bother me, and he was like, "Well, yeah." This is not a healthy thing to do. This is like, it's not comfortable. You know what I mean? They used to make American prisoners of war in the Japanese camps hold up their arms for hours for torture. We do it willingly. Anyway, so how we doing? You think we can play the whole Banished Misfortune now, right from one end to the other? Let's do it. And we're going to do it a good few times. So put your helmets on and shoot the Germans you can shoot. Okay, here we go. Ready, go! How did we get along, people? Yeah? Able to get through it? Oh, that's good. That's good. What are the chances that you can play it without the music at some point? Oh, good. That's great. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually, yeah, sure. I mean, like, I almost want to try to practice it as soon as possible without music at all,
Well, that's
because
a good
I
idea.
feel like I have
And
to relearn the tune. Like, if like if I play too much with the notes, if I take the notes away, I almost have to learn it from scratch. It's like really weird. Like,
well, can I give you a couple pieces of advice about that? Okay, it's about boiling it down. So if you do a combo of by ear and the music, before you're done with it, start each part, the first two bars of each part, nice and confidently, 2 or 3 times. Okay, then the next time you get it out, your chances of being able to get from part to part are much better. Okay, just the first 2 bars of each part, and do some glancing away. So da da dee da da dee da dee da 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 dee da da dee da. See what I mean? And then of
Yeah.
course that I can't forget the old Irish expression: if you can sing a tune, you can play it on your instrument, even if you haven't tried to do it yet. And it really is true. So if you have a job or a situation such that you can sit there all day long and think about trying to sing Banished Misfortune, I highly recommend it. And then if you get caught up anywhere, if in your head you're going dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da da, so then you know now what part you still don't quite know. Whatever part you kind of go, that's where you have to kind of go back and figure that out. I was just doing it with this tune I'm learning, the Earl of Dalhousie's Happy Return to Scotland. Beautiful tune. I love it. And my beginner class wanted to learn it, and I learned it, and then I went to play it on, like I played it years and years ago. I went to play it at the local because I know that Brian plays it, and I played it with him, and he screwed up part of it. And he kept glaring at me, and I kept glaring at him. And then I got home, and I looked at the music, and it was me. I reinvented part of it, and that's pretty embarrassing because I'm the Cape Bretoner. But anyway, yeah. So those are ways that you can do that, there, Paul. Start each part and see if you can sing the whole thing from start to finish when you're walking to the bus someday. You know what I mean? And really try to get every note in your head. Okay, and we'll try to take a look at it next time. Now, how about the people that are... Yeah?
Sorry, just a quick follow-up question. So in regards to ornamentation, is it possible that there's like clashes? Like if you have a session and people are playing and different people ornament in a different way, like is there a risk that you're doing the wrong ornamentation, or does it like, no?
No, I mean, it depends on who's leading the session. If it's an arsehole, then you might have a problem.
Not ornamenting right.
But no, ornaments are meant to be your own choice. There weren't really any wrong ones. There might be like a little bit out in left field ones, but there's nothing prescribed. There might be something prescribed if you were trying to play Michael Coleman, for instance, or if you were trying to play Andy McGann or J. Scott Skinner. If you're trying to get that perfect, then yeah. But it's up to you. They can exist on top of each other. They don't really cause tonal problems. You know what I mean? Because they're all just momentary little passing tones anyway. Sometimes it can be awkward, but whatever. And in a session, like you're going to hear all kinds of ornaments on top of ornaments. It's a normal thing. Now, you might get some guys that are purists that are trying to get you to do something, and there's some of them here in Toronto. Some of them might speak French, but I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It really is your own choice what you want to do. Now, some people, I've been accused of putting too many ornaments in because I learned them, like the Irish ornaments I learned as an adult because we didn't do them in Cape Breton growing up. Rolls were not a thing in Cape Breton. And a few other things like that. So I had to learn them here in the city. And for the longest time, they all eluded me, all that Irish stuff. I couldn't do it. Suddenly, it all started working, and then I found I was doing everything all the time. You know what I mean? Which is also not advisable. Like, you don't want to do everything all the time. You want to pick and choose.
Sure.
So sometimes I do everything all like for a student, I'll show everything that can go in.
Mhm.
And then you pick and choose and make your own choices.
Okay.
The only thing that can clash is double stops.
Oh, right.
So you got to be careful there. And I basically stay away from thirds altogether. Because that's
Oh.
the thing. If you use open intervals in your double stops, fourths and fifths, doesn't matter if you're major or minor, right? It'll still fit. You know
Okay.
about that? You know what I mean?
You don't want to flatten third.
Yeah. The third note of the scale is really what defines it being major or minor.
Right.
Like, that's what my buddy Brian, the guitar player, he just never plays any thirds.
Hmm.
So it's just totally open. It could be major, could be minor, could even be another key, and you're just kind of doing the relative. See what I mean? So so that's what I do. I just don't. I try to stay away from thirds when I do double stops in a session where people might get uptight, and it doesn't have any effect.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good
Okay.
to know.
Anyway, guys, I gotta go. So practice Spanish Misfortune, and we'll have a look at it again next week. Now that was that I think that was Sandy's request. So give me another request, and we'll learn another tune next week as well. Okay?
Okay.
Just email
Thanks,
me.
thanks so much. That was
Thanks
great.
a million, guys. Great to see y'all. Looking forward to next week.
Yep. See you here. Bye.
Bye.